actually let him give his introduction, but let's just welcome him to class.
Thanks. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, guys. Hopefully we're doing pretty well tonight. I get the luxury of being the presenter for social, which is definitely a fun, creative, full of latitude discipline in the marketing toolkit. We have some fun things to talk about today. Really two parts to the presentation. We're going to talk first about kind of some of the guiding principles that I believe in, things that are real near and dear to me, more intrinsic value stuff. And then we'll kind of walk through a campaign, some campaign mechanics, and I'll give you an example. We'll kind of coincide with an example from a campaign in 2012 that we did. Before we do that, a little bit about Taco Time. We're a legacy brand, locally owned and operated, fourth generation leadership, established in 1962 in beautiful White Center, Washington. We're up to about 80 locations now, primarily in Western Washington. We have a couple on the east side of the mountains, but we are truly a local company. And we operate that way, and we've got kind of muddy boots sometimes when we try to move forward because of some of that legacy. But that's always a fun part of the challenge working for the company. And then I've got Mexi fries on there just because people like Mexi fries, and they're not tater tots. That's a distinction. Don't, please. They're Mexi fries. Again, I'm Brandon. I've been with Taco Time for a real long time. I'm not going to say how long. I'm not going to date myself, but started as a marketing coordinator, moved up into the advertising space, became a marketing manager, and now I'm in the role of digital experience manager, which means I'm responsible for our digital channels and platforms, social web, mobile payments, loyalty, order ahead, those sorts of things. And then on my kind of operator side, I lead our restaurant technology team, and that's point of sale systems, back of the house, internet, timers, branded music, that sort of thing, stuff that breaks, right? The technology in the restaurant. The picture over here, I hesitated to include this. The kid in blue on the left, that's my nephew Jack. Next to him in the Seahawks hat and nothing else really, with his tablet is my son Cord. We're on a family vacation here at the beach. Parent of the Year award right here. There's so many things to be doing when you're at the beach on vacation. My kid's on Minecraft, and he's on YouTube learning about Minecraft. And again, this is kind of a public shame moment. It's cathartic. It makes me feel good to talk about it, I guess. But I thought it was germane to the topic because it just clearly illustrates how centrally we're reliant on devices and the content that they provide. It's just become part of our story. And really part of what we're going to talk about upcoming. So before we get too deep into the presentation, some context. About 10 years ago, maybe 2007, 2008, our organization started really talking about bringing social to our brand and building a presence. I really did spearhead this, but I met a lot of resistance with ownership. Mostly due to lack of education, right? So, what if they talk about us? That was a common thing. What if someone gets their order wrong and they go tell everybody on social? I'm like, wait, they already are. I mean, that's already out there. Whether we're in the picture or not, they're talking about us. Do we want to be part of that conversation? In fact, word of mouth, right? Word of mouth has been around since the dawn of time. There were people probably a girl in a village 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago who got a cold bowl of porridge and went home to her mom and said, I got a cold bowl of porridge, Mom. And Mom goes to the blacksmith, and blacksmith tells the son, and the son goes to like sorcery school and tells all his classmates, and pretty soon you got like the first medieval Yelp review, and it's just been happening forever. You can't control that as a brand. We don't really own our brands. And again, coming from the B2C perspective here, it's a little different with B2B, so I'll have that slant tonight. So that was, the good news was that they okayed it, and all of a sudden I'm in charge of social media, and this is 2007, I'm on MySpace, right? So luckily I had a friend who was just leaving intercom, radio, and starting his own social media agency. Josh Dirks, really bright guy. Look him up if you get a chance. He's a thought leader here in town. He started his agency, Project Bionic. We got signed up, and we were kind of off and running within a couple of months. And it was about that time that I was at a marketing conference in Atlanta, and I saw this gentleman speak. His name was Paul Adams. And he had a really cool, interesting perspective on social. He looked at architecture and anthropology and kind of how those intersected to understand how humans relate, right? How we coexist. Something he said really struck me from the beginning. He said, to be a successful advertiser on the web in the future, you will need to build content based on many lightweight conversations. Many lightweight conversations. It resonated with me because it's so true, right? Many lightweight conversations over time. My wife, I had to court her. And then we finally started dating. And then, the rest is history. It took time. That was getting personal for a second there. It took time, but that trust developed. And the same is true with brands and our audiences and our guests and consumers. So many lightweight interactions. The other kind of pillar, philosophical pillar, foundational pillar that's really important to me is brand story. We all have all of our organizations have wonderful stories to tell. Jen was talking about that when I walked in. Tell those stories. Those brand values your organization holds true are the same values your customers hold true. And that emotional thread that ties them together, that's that link. That's what you're nurturing constantly. And social is the best place to do that. This is true in all of marketing, but social is the best place to do this. So for Taco Time, it's local sourcing. We are a regional company. We're fortunate to be able to get our food from our cheese from Sunnyside, our pinto beans from Quincy, our beef from Toppenish, our produce from the Kent Valley. These are important things and ideas and concepts to our community and our guests. And as a steward of our community, we hold those values very strong. So we want to tell that story. That's important. Let's talk about that. Composting. Our brand is one of the very first QSRs in the nation to go almost 100% compostable. And that's not, that's an expensive decision to make. That's not good for the margin. But it was important to us, and it's important to the community we serve. So those things, tell the brand story, be proud of it. I will say this, we try to use a 30-70 rule. 30% brand talk on social, 70% conversational. Don't overdo it, right? But when you do, tell those stories. They resonate. Embrace the uncomfortable. This is tough for some brands. It's hard sometimes when you get a negative Yelp review or an ugly comment on Facebook. But remember, those moments are some of the most important moments. This is your chance to learn from the consumer. This is your opportunity to grow your business in ways, there might be new pain points you discover. There may be opportunities you didn't know existed. But take that, it's a treasure trove of data, really. Take it, make it actionable business intelligence, and do something with it. Have those conversations. Just embrace the uncomfortable. And finally, they tell it better than we do. And you're gonna see, that's real. That's legit. Couldn't believe it, but that's passion right there. What I'm really trying to say with this slide here is, if we have car trouble, and I'm going to show you my now defunct Yellow Page ad, I fix cars, but your best friend says, oh, I know a good mechanic, who are you going to choose? 10 times out of 10, you're going to choose your friend's recommendation, right? That's the genesis of this statement. Your audience is constantly talking about you. Cultivate that material, retweet it, post it, repost it. Use that because it resonates more with the rest of your audience. We can scream down from the ivory tower, our tacos rule, but it makes more sense if you're telling us our tacos rule because you were there a couple times this week. And So they do it better than we do. So before we get into the The campaign side of things, I want to just touch base. Don't worry if you can't read on the outside here. That doesn't really matter. Does anyone here in your organization use a guest journey map? Anyone heard of this? Okay, this may be more of a B2C thing, but a really important tool for me. This is my guest journey map, the one I use. This essentially is a way for you to identify the different points in the path to purchase, okay? So starting with these before events, and then you move to during events, and then after events, and you've got this outer ring here, beginning with awareness, and then moving into consideration and engagement, then finally trial, and then your satisfaction events. And then you can see there's a clear loyalty curve here. You know, you want to keep them in this loop, right? Satisfied, back to trial, satisfied, back to trial. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes you dissatisfy and you have to try to re-engage. But it's a good way to keep track of the guest journey, the path to purchase. When you're looking at budgets, real important to, you know, if you're getting in front of your board, real important to have a clear definition of what you're trying to, you know, the funnel, okay? The real reason I wanted to share this slide was I wanted to talk about how social media impacts the guest journey. And as you can see, it's all over it, right? Social has a real strong presence today in the guest journey, customer journey. I use guest. We use guest as part of our vernacular, so that might sound really weird in your business. I'm not sure what your businesses are, but guest, customer, consumer, we use guest. Awareness. You can see up there, that's, you know, typically your traditional TV and radio, word of mouth, but now we can reach you via social very easily. We can target you. A good way to find you via social. Hopefully, with a little bit of effort, we can get you landed on our app, one of the app stores, Play Store or the App Store, and that's your consideration phase. And then maybe you make your way down to downloading the app. And that's where we can start engaging with you, really engaging with you. We can push notification. We can learn a little more about your demographics. We can email you and, of course, reach you in the other social phases. And then if we nudge you along just right, you might finally try. And I chose this silly graphic of a taco. It's creepier big than it is small. I thought it was cute at the time. So if you can get past that creepy taco, you might get up to the satisfaction event stage and leave a nice Yelp review or a post on Facebook, or join in some way, some conversation, and continue that loop. We're going to talk about a campaign here, and we'll go through some campaign mechanics at the same time. Back in 2012, we had very rudimentary ways, I had very rudimentary ways for proving ROI, okay, to my bosses. We had a fractured point of sale system, which didn't allow us to track couponing digitally. So that's probably the best and most sought after way to go from a physical location, or take a digital world, bring them into a physical location, and get a one-to-one sale or be a trackable sale. It's not like online where you're just tracking cookies and conversions. We need to bring you out of your house to our restaurant. So I was struggling with that, and we had done some pretty cool campaigns. We had some cool scavenger hunts and other interesting campaigns, but nothing that really moved the needle, and I still didn't have complete buy-in from my board. So I got probably a little bit too confident, but I made a move. I said, look, why don't you give me Q4, you guys go off of TV and radio, and we'll find out what really happens with social. Which was it was kind of a ballsy move, because TV's powerful. We put a lot of money into TV. It's really, you know, it's the sacred cow of advertising, at least for us. But we went for it. I got the approval, and it was another one of those moments of, crap, okay, now I got to do this. Cool, let's do this. So we went in with a plan. I should back up a little bit and say 2012 was a cool year for our company. It was our 50th anniversary. We had this brand new taco truck that was going around town. It was giving away free tacos. We had introduced a health coach, and we had digital properties for all these assets. So we had stories to tell. So I thought this could really work. So we start planning. And when I say plan, I mean just rudimentary planning, right? What are your goals and expectations? What do you want to get out of this campaign? What do you need to get out of this campaign? Of course, budget, understanding your limitations, and then having a good sense of your timeline, and certainly the run-up to the timeline. Planning, organizing, allocating assets, understanding what it's going to take to get to that launch date of the campaign. But quickly, back on goals and expectations. I like to break this into two pieces, and this is kind of a passionate thing for me. You saw a slide earlier, it's a human thing. Certainly we all have business goals in our organizations. That's your revenue, your sales. For us, sales and guest counts is a big one. Conversions, click-through rate, whatever it is in your industry, trial, product trial. You report business goals to somebody. That's always number one. But a very close second, or a 1A, is this intrinsic value. And that is those satisfaction events, those moments, the things you can't really measure, right? Happiness, loyalty, the relationship. It's a long play. And it's really important to me, it's really important to cultivate that long play and to be real, to be human, to be authentic, to be transparent. So that intrinsic value, I place it at a very high, right up next to the business value. So in the case of this particular campaign, we had two primary goals, right? My business goal was maintain sales and guest counts. And then the intrinsic value was brand education. So those things out of the way, and you're going to have sub-goals. It's going to be a bigger list. But I think it's important to focus on just a few very primary goals so you have a clear path to success. Budget, yeah, never enough. We all in this room, I'm sure, know that. Wish we had more. So be scrappy. And I think even if you do have budget, significant budget, being scrappy is a good thing, right? It's always good. Being scrappy, no matter what level of your industry or your company you're at, being scrappy is a good thing. Amazing things can come out of being scrappy. And then timeline. You have a 3-month run-up, in this case, a 3-month run-up to Q4, so we needed to start at the end of summer to get whatever this is going to be out the door. And that brings us to our next phase, execute. So execution is totally, obviously, I think it's probably the biggest key here. Starting with concepts. So when we had these goals panned out, timeline panned out, the budget figured out, I sat down with Project Bionic and we whiteboarded this thing to death. We knew we needed to drive sales into the restaurants. That was key, or else this is a failure. So if we're not showing strategic growth, sales and guest count growth, this won't work. So we kind of came up with this statement. What if we created a contest that rewarded passion for the brand while requiring on-site participation? It kind of kills two birds with one stone. We've got, we're requiring on-site participation. The assumption is that you're going to purchase something while you're on site. And you're leveraging that passion for the brand. So we quickly came up with this thought of, well, who is Taco Time's ultimate fan, and how can we find out who that is, and can we gamify that in a way that we would have just this fun participation that would generate user content. And that's what we did. So we kind of whiteboarded out, hey, we're going to do a contest celebrating our most passionate fans. We're going to use the content platform itself to educate. We're going to drive contestants into the restaurant at all costs. We've got to do that. And we're going to collect user-generated content for future campaigns. We like user-generated. They tell the story better than we do. So once we conceptualize, we go to the build phase, and all campaigns are different. You might have a very simple campaign where you're just gonna go with a visual theme and Instagram, and it's very lightweight, doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting, or you might create a Snapchat filter for your brand. But we're usually building something. This was a little heavier duty. We wanted to create a microsite as a home base for this contest. Develop plenty of assets, a brand for this contest, logo lockups, the whole 9 yards, and we had to generate, of course, this is a contest, you have to generate the legal. There's T's and C's and rules and regulations and privacy stuff that you have to take care of. So getting that all under control, that works back to your timeline, work backwards from your build. And then as Jen said when I walked in as well, test. Like social is such a great tool to test. We did A/B tests, we did small group tests. I leverage our office all the time. Our office, I mean, they think I'm nuts half the time, but they're super honest, which I really appreciate. Test. And then when you're ready and you've vetted, launch it. And then finally, the fourth piece of execution in my mind is maintenance. And that's really important from a community manager perspective. Leveraging your community managers and those teams across channels with a single message. In this contest, in this campaigns, in the case of this campaign, we had to really educate our communities on what we were doing, why we were doing it, what is this ultimate fan thing, and finally keep it human. So this is what we ended up with. Here's some of our assets for promotion. We had in-store point of sale, table tents, window posters, OCD images, describing the contest. Are you Taco Time's ultimate fan? So this is the run-up. This is the advertising piece, the build-up, the excitement. We decided, we didn't have a lot of budget. We decided we'd give a $10,000 cash prize to the ultimate fan, the grand prize. We're really unsure if that was going to be enough, but that's what we had to work with. A few $1,000 cash prizes and a handful of $100 cactus cards, and then a ton of swag from Coke and other partners. Got scrappy. Social ads, web ads, we really broad brushed this thing and built up a bit of excitement surrounding the contest. And then this is our microsite. So we built a desktop version and a mobile version. At the time, 2012, I think we were still at like 60-40 desktop, one out. So desktop was really important for this. That's completely flipped now. But we wanted to make sure, because this was a social contest, we wanted to drive people to mobile so they can use single sign-ons and register easier, break down any barriers or friction points. And that's kind of what that ended up looking like. And then once you were registered, you had your own dashboard and a set of challenges, 5 challenge points. You can see we had a leaderboard over to the right, ways to earn extra bonus points by registering or linking your Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus accounts. Again, social. And then I'll go through these different challenge levels, but that's really where the meat for this came from. So this is the trivia level. Again, our goals are education and driving traffic. Sample question, how much money was raised in 2011 from the Taco Time coupon book for the Taco Time Foundation? So one, this is education. Taco Time is a foundation? Cool. Taco Time has a coupon book? Cool. Now, where do I find that information? It's out there. You can Google it. I mean, there's press releases. So they actively had to engage with our brand online by searching out these different trivia challenges. And we made them just hard enough that you had to Google or ask somebody or maybe go on site and look something up. We gave you 10 points for that. If you missed it, you lost your chance. And that first week was really exciting because I saw that leaderboard kind of going up and down, and there's a lot of chatter around the leaderboard. The leaderboard is a really cool motivational. There needs to be a study surrounding humans and leaderboards. There's something there because people were getting pissed. It was pretty funny. So that was the trivia challenge. Next challenge was social, and this was a little bit the same. But we're getting a little more physical with this. So 20 points for checking into any Taco Time on Foursquare. Retweet the Taco Time NW Traveler. That was our taco truck. Trying to increase virality. Two different things. Virality and really expand our social presence. And that one gave us nice nudges and numbers for fan growth. But we also tried to play into that physical level too. Photo. This was really fun. Once you got to this level, you're kind of doing some unique things. So this example here is take a picture where you enjoy your taco time the most. And the assumption here again is you're going to go grab a soft taco and you're going to go down to Snoqualmie Falls, take a selfie, upload it. And the cool side effect here is we're getting awesome user-generated content. We have some of the coolest fans out there doing some cool things in cool places. We couldn't have been more pleased with that. So the photo challenge, those were sort of the ideas there. We also ended up having some of these questions were like, hey, take a photo of you and your bestie and post it to Facebook and tag this contest. So just little ways to increase that viral nature of the contest and awareness of the brand in general. And then we get to the Ambassador Challenge, 50 points. These are a little more difficult. Write a review on Yelp, download the Taco Time app, play the game, post your high score on Facebook or Twitter. Again, letting our audience do most of the heavy lifting for us while they're having fun. And again, the underlying theme here is, many lightweight interactions over time. They keep interacting with our brand. This is a 3-month contest. This took time, and people were having fun doing it. Finally, our Ultimate Fan Challenge group. This was the most fun one. This is where we asked people to make commercials, write songs, post them to YouTube, dress 5 friends in the same colored shirt, go to your favorite Taco Time, take a picture. That got some fun pictures. Again, that's a group of people going to Taco Time. They probably ate. In back of my head, I'm like, I gotta keep that momentum going. So this stuff really worked. We had a lot of fun with it. It was pretty cool. And the result was a $10,000 winner and other happy Taco Time fans and amazing user-generated content that we continue to use today as fun pieces of Taco Time fandom. So you can see there people pouring their favorite freestyle, Coca-Cola freestyle drink. You got the group holiday shot up there. I think there's a group of white shirts in the Taco Time. Yeah, just fun stuff, right? And then there was the crazy stuff. These are some smattering of our ultimate fans. The Taco Time rap, interviews. This gal was awesome. She did like an 80s reproduction of this. You remember the song Hungry Eyes? Okay. Slow-mo, her and a soft taco spinning around. It was passionate. It was awesome. So the contest ended. We had tons of fun, but we realized something somewhat unintended. This was a bit of a surprise. After the contest, we identified, a good handful of what we would call ambassadors, true blue fans of Taco Time, and noticed that they were popping up more and more in our comments and in our feeds and advocating for the brand, unprompted. It just had this zest and zeal for Taco Time after this. So we said, you know what, we got to thank these people. So we gathered them together, brought them down to our office, had a party. It was right around Halloween, costume party. We brought this dinner troupe in from Renton who does a murder mystery thing, really fun. Tried a bunch of new products. Our corporate chef made a bunch of cool things. We never made it to market, but some fun things. Had this really great party. And thanked them, and they continue to this day to be really brand advocates. They put out fires for us, educate, invaluable folks, right? And finally, the last piece of a campaign is measurement. And I mentioned at the top, we didn't have a lot of tools to measure traditional business value, so I had to show it in a different way. The intrinsic value was pretty easy. We just showed those pictures, right? And not that the board really, it doesn't really, your boss is probably going, oh, that's cool, Brandon, but did we make any money? And then surprises. And there's always some surprises. So right off the top, we had nearly 8,000 participants, which is good. At the time, I think we had 22,000 Facebook fans, so I was really happy with that number. The big one, year-over-year sales and guest counts, they remained just over flat, which was a win. I'll take. I was really nervous about not being on TV. And then some more measurements. We had 6,000 check-ins on Foursquare. That represented 20% of lifetime check-ins at the time. 196% increase in fan growth quarter over quarter. 633% increase in engagement quarter and quarter. And plus 3,000% increase in reach quarter over quarter on Facebook. So Facebook really was the benefactor there. Twitter saw growth too. Our traveler asset, our at TTNW Traveler on Twitter, that saw some great growth, 20% new growth, 22% of new followers were new growth. And then a couple of our educational assets online, the traveler landing page saw increases in traffic, and the health coach saw huge increases in traffic and time spent on page. So we accomplished our primary goals, right? That was to drive traffic to the restaurant. We did that. And then we clearly educated through the contest. If these numbers didn't illustrate it, looking at that intrinsic value does. But that's not even the end of it. That's not even the best measurement. So 3 years later, I got an email from a contestant. His name was Tyler. Really nice guy. He and his girlfriend started kind of dating right at the time this contest launched. And this represented a ton of their dates. So they'd go out, they had fun. Many lightweight interactions, right? Well, she ended up being like a power player. She came in like third. Madison is her name. And she was at the party in October, so months later. And he was her plus one. Got to meet them, got to know them a little bit. Really cool people. Anyways, going back to the email, he says, Brandon, Taco Time played this crucial role in our relationship. It's crazy. And I'm kind of go, where are we going with this, Tyler? He says, hey, I got this idea. I want you to be part of my proposal. Which was so cool, right? And so terrifying too. I'm like, oh God, don't want to screw this. This is real life. Don't screw this up. So what we did was we created this faux contest for Ultimate Fan. I even called it the Ultimate Fan Reunion in italics challenge, like tons of double entendres. We made it fun with the goal of kind of taking her on this chase, a scavenger hunt to ultimately this park where he had always wanted to propose at. Special place for them. So we did that, and I'm going, this Paul Adams guy in Atlanta, he was legit. Many lightweight conversations. This guy knew what he was talking about. I knew this was a foundational piece to social strategy. And sure enough, they got married. She opened up an envelope with our brand on it and read aloud, and he got on a knee. So I think it's an amazing story and a true capper to a true social campaign. And that's all I have. She asked about it. No, but they get really nice loads of retail cash into their apps every anniversary. Oh, nice. Try not to forget that. So that's it.